All right, today we're on a special assignment, looking into a crisis that's unfolding, believe it or not, hundreds of kilometers right above our heads. This is a big one. It's about our ingenuity, a pretty serious threat, and this massive, urgent mission to clean up our orbital backyard. So let's get right into it.
So, that really is the central question, isn't it? For decades, we've been launching stuff into space satellites, rockets, you name it. And we've left a trail of junk behind us. And now that legacy is really starting to catch up with us. We're talking about a massive threat to every single working spacecraft up there.
34,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. According to the European Space Agency, that's how many large pieces of junk are circling the Earth right now. We're talking dead satellites, old rocket parts, bits and pieces from collisions. And here's the kicker. Each one is basically a bullet, zipping around at kilometers per second. And most of the stuff is in low Earth orbit, which is like the most valuable real estate in space. It's where all our critical satellites for communication and Earth observation live. Okay, so that brings us to our first section, our crowded skies. To really get a handle on this, you gotta kind of shift how you think about space. We picture it as this vast, endless emptiness, right? But the orbital highways we depend on for everything, GPS, communications, science, they're actually getting pretty crowded. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Outer space is infinite. Usable planetary orbits are not. That's the whole problem in a nutshell. Those P orbits, the useful, stable ones close to Earth, there's only so many of them. And right now, they're getting so congested, it's turning into a high-speed demolition derby up there. But it's not all bad news. And that's what this next section is about, the global cleanup crew. Because here's the good news. The world is actually mobilizing. Our investigation found this growing coalition of space agencies, researchers, you name it. And they're all developing some pretty incredible tech to tackle this problem head-on. Yeah, take a look at this. We're seeing reports from Japan that their aerospace agency, JAXA, is really leading the charge. They've got this amazing 3-stage strategy. First, they have to rendezvous with the piece of junk, basically meet up with it in orbit, matching its speed perfectly. Then they gotta capture it. And finally, they maneuver the whole thing so it burns up safely in the atmosphere on re-entry. It sounds like science fiction, but they're actively developing it. And hey, it's not just Japan. This is a truly global effort. Over in Slovakia, they're setting up a worldwide network of cameras to track debris as it falls back to Earth, which helps predict where it's going to land. And get this, researchers in Ukraine are looking into using magnetic fields to basically put the brakes on space junk, slowing it down so it falls out of orbit. Really cool stuff happening all over. Okay, so the tech is amazing, but that's only half the story. Now we get to the really tricky part, the price of a clean orbit. Because the biggest hurdle here isn't technological, it's economic. It all boils down to one simple question. Who's going to pay for a cleanup mission that helps absolutely everyone? So let's break down who's involved. You've basically got two main groups. On one side, you have the space operators. Think of them as the residents of the neighborhood, all the companies and countries with working satellites. They're the ones who really benefit from a clean, safe orbit. And then on the other side, you have the debris remediators. These are the potential cleanup crews, and they're the ones staring down the barrel of missions that cost a fortune. We're talking tens of millions of dollars. And this right here shows you the standoff perfectly. The costs are private, one company has to pay for the whole mission. But the benefits, they're public. Every satellite operator gets to enjoy a safer orbit, even if they didn't chip in a single penny. It's a classic economic dilemma, and it's basically why commercial cleanup hasn't taken off. So how do you solve a problem like that? Well, some smart people have proposed a really clever model. It's actually based on game theory. Here's how it would work. First, all the space operators pay a fee, and that fee is based on how much they benefit from having a cleaner orbit. Step 2, some kind of regulatory body collects all those fees. And then step 3, that body pays out big incentives to the cleanup crews to actually fund their missions. You see what it does? It basically creates a market where one didn't exist before. But what if there's another way? What if we could just flip the entire economic model on its head? That brings us to our next section. Recycling, the final frontier. Because our investigation uncovered some researchers who are proposing a really wild idea. What if we could turn all that orbital trash into treasure? I mean, seriously, think about this. What if space junk wasn't just trash, but a resource? This is a total game changer. Instead of just finding a way to get rid of the junk, What if we could actually harvest it? What if those old satellites and rocket parts are basically mines, floating in orbit, just packed with valuable metals that are already up there? And the possibilities here are just staggering. You could take the recycled metals, the aluminum, the titanium, and use them for manufacturing right there in orbit. We're talking 3D printing new parts, fixing broken satellites, maybe even building brand new structures in space without the insane cost of launching everything from Earth. It would kickstart a real circular economy in space. Mind-blowing. Okay, but as we kept digging for this report, we stumbled onto something a lot more chilling. This next part is a serious warning, because it turns out not all space junk is just harmless scrap metal. Some of it is radioactive. And that adds a whole new, very serious level of urgency to this entire mission. You know, for decades, we just dumped radioactive waste into our oceans. It's a terrible legacy that we're still trying to clean up today. And it's a really stark reminder of what happens when you prioritize short-term convenience over long-term consequences. Well, now a very similar legacy is orbiting right over our heads. Because it turns out, that exact same out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality has left a trail of nuclear material circling the Earth. What we're talking about specifically are these old Soviet-era power sources. They're called RTGs. They were basically nuclear batteries used to power remote beacons and communication systems. Now, the scary part is they contain this really potent radioactive material, strontium-90. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of these just got lost. I mean, some have literally been found just abandoned on the ground here on Earth, totally unsecured. And now we know that there are more of them up there in orbit, a ticking time bomb of radioactive junk. So that's the bottom line. We're really at a crossroads here. Will low Earth orbit become our greatest junkyard, or could it be the foundation of a whole new circular economy in space? One path leads to an unusable, maybe even radioactive wasteland, but the other leads to a future where we turn one of our biggest mistakes into our greatest resource and build something sustainable in the final frontier. The choice, really, depends on what we do next.